How do you empty an ostomy bag without it getting all gross and messy? Hi, I'm Kristen. I've had my ileostomy for 14 years and I'm also a certified ostomy care nurse. How cool is that? I'm not only going to walk you through how to open and close the different systems, but we're actually going to step by step show you how to keep them clean. And yes, I prepared some beautiful output to add to these so I can really show you how this works. Super realistic, I know. Okay, first up is the Hollister Lock and Roll. This is their Velcro. This is their Velcro system. This is their original lock and roll system here. They have recently come out with a newer version, which I think this just makes it even a little easier, but it's the exact same technique. So I'm gonna walk you through step by step how I would clean one of these. I did wear this system for 4 years when I first got my ostomy, so I've practiced a time or two. Okay, so we had to get a little creative here because we're not actually at the toilet. We're still gonna go through step by step how to do this. So this little tip you're gonna use for no matter what system you're using. Everybody does this a little differently. Some people will just sit down on the toilet normally and just kind of empty between your legs. I think this is the most easiest. You're going in there to pee anyways, so just anytime I'm peeing, if there's anything in my bag, I will empty it. Some people sit backwards on the toilet, they have a little more room, they're going directly into the water, they think it's a little easier, or some people will kneel or kind of bend to the side, however works for you. But here are the keys to help keep everything clean. So you're gonna take some toilet paper and you will make a little nest into the toilet. This is going to allow your output to go onto this instead of just the toilet bowl. There's not that much water in front of a toilet bowl, so if you do this, it's going to allow everything to flush down on the first try, and it will make it a little less messy. You are at less risk for anything splashing back up at you. So no matter what you're doing, the toilet paper nest is where it's at. Okay, the next thing I do is I get ready. So I will take a few little strips and just lay those down next to me. You honestly only need 2 or 3. So we'll just get these ready here. Real life, sitting on the toilet, I have these ready and I just drape them right here so they're quick and easy and ready to grab. I'm telling you, I'm not holding anything back. These are all the tips. All right, so next we're going to demo this. And I'm gonna try to figure out the best way to do this to make this realistic. So I'm gonna attach this wafer to my clothing here. Maybe the easiest way to do it. So we'll just pretend that's where my bag is. How I mentioned, this is my first YouTube video ever. I mean, I've been doing like the TikToks and the Reels and all that, but I just was really proud of myself for emptying pink frosting and cleaning it so beautifully, and I didn't hit the record button, so let's try that again. You're gonna wanna empty your ostomy bag when it's about 1/3 to 1/2 full. So in my little demo, I'm not quite where you would need to empty it, but you don't wanna waste too much frosting. So I'm going to use my fingers with my fingers on the back and my thumbs in the front, and I'm just gonna kind of slide any of that output down to the bottom here. If your output is a little more liquidy, you may not need to bring it to the bottom. It might already just with gravity be hanging out down there. But especially for a colostomy or when you have more mushy or formed stool, you're gonna wanna make sure that it goes all the way down to the bottom before you play with this. It's just gonna make it a lot easier. All right, let's get my toilet paper nest. We're gonna put that right in the front of our toilet. And then I'm going to empty this here. We're gonna open it up. Roll this down. I'm gonna take some fingers on one side and my thumb on the other side. And I'm going to squeeze together and then, see how I'm doing that? I'm trying to show you on my other hand too, how I'm squeezing and then pulling to separate. So I'm not sticking my fingers inside a bag full of poop. We're keeping everything super clean and classy. So see how I opened that, and I'm just gonna keep pinching this open. I know some people pre-crease these to make it easier, but I feel like it's not even really necessary because gravity is gonna do the work to get the majority of this out, and then we're just gonna clean. So I am using my fingers from the top. This is like a pastry bag, which is pretty ironic that I am using frosting. A lot of people will say it's like a pastry bag when you're trying to get everything out. So I'm taking my right hand here and I'm going to push everything out like this. Isn't it beautiful? And I am just squeezing to get as much of that output out. If your output is more liquidy, this is going to be a little easier. And if it's more formed or mushy like this, it does take a little bit of work to get it all out. Then I'm going to take my thumb and run it across the outside here. I am not going anywhere near the actual output, but I'm using pressure to make sure I got that final part out. Do you see how I'm doing that? Just like that. And normally it would just, there we go. So again, use your little techniques here. So the pull apart and the thumb slide. I should create names for these. I'm gonna take my first strip of toilet paper here. These are all about like two squares wide. And the first step I'm doing is I'm just folding this and I'm gonna take it. First step is to slide this across the outside. I feel like sometimes people want to clean the inside first. If you do this first, this is all staying very clean and there is no stool near your fingers. So we're gonna get rid of that. Open that back up with this little slide technique. I'm gonna take my next sheet that I had ready here, and this time I'm gonna wrap it around either one or two fingers like this so that there is no stool going near my fingers. They are totally wrapped. I'm taking this, going inside. I guess I do one finger now that we're doing this. And I'm taking it and putting pressure along the edge here, kind of going back and forth. And that's gonna go right into the toilet. I'm gonna get my third piece. Same thing, just wrapping this all around a finger. And then I'm taking pressure to really clean and get all of those crevices out. Once you practice this, you guys, you can do this so fast. I mean, I'm doing this in the middle of the night with hardly any light and we are keeping everything clean. So that is honestly really clean. I don't know how well you can see here, but there's not really any frosting until kind of the second line. If you wanted to be extra clean, you could go back in with the third time and get a little farther down. Now that this top part's clean, you are not going to be getting anything on your fingers at the top. So I'm going to get that all out. Again, I'm using pressure. Ta-da! Pretty cool, right? All right, so then I'm gonna take this hand to keep everything nice and flat, get the air out of there, and then I'm going to roll this up and clip it together. And you did it. You successfully emptied your bag without making a mess. There is no frosting anywhere in sight. We did it. A lot of those concepts you can apply to all of the different brands, especially the same Velcro type system. I'm gonna show you next how to do it on a Coloplast and a Convatec Esteem body. And then I'm also gonna show you the clip because I feel like that's the biggest difference. And if you're in healthcare, I think it's super important to learn all of these things because sometimes your hospital will only carry the clip, or maybe you're lucky and they only carry the Velcro. But that way you can kind of see all of the different options because there are little differences with each one. But that was the main concept on how to keep things clean. Next up, Coloplast. This is the Certified Mio. I wore this bag for 10 years and I think it's the easiest to keep clean. So if you are struggling, I can't recommend it enough. Taking a big, pretty plop, and we're gonna put that in here. Not to make too much of a mess at the top here. I was just tempted to eat that, but in context, I feel like that might not be the best. Okay, let's put this on and empty it. I did get a little frosty on the last one. We'll just say that's my stoma. Okay, here we go. Let's prep. We're gonna take our toilet paper, put a little nest in the toilet. We're gonna get 3 pieces ready. 1, 2, And again, these are about 2 ply. You could do 2 to 3 squares, not ply. These are about 2 to 3 squares. We're ready to go. Take my thumbs on the top, fingers behind. I'm gonna squish all of that down to the bottom. You can kind of do this in like a squishing or a rolling motion. I'm gonna open up the bag here, and Coloplast Velcros in 3 spots. So it's 1, 2, 3. And then we're rolling this all the way down. And here is the key to Coloplast. I have seen so many people talk about these online, and I feel like they don't always realize what these little Velcro things are for. I've had patients say, I don't really like Coloplast because it gets messy and I get poop on the little Velcros on the back and I don't really understand it. And that's because you're missing this step. So listen right here. These are for emptying. These little guys are not to roll it up. These are only for emptying. So when you go to empty, you are gonna fold it so those little Velcro dots are together. And then all of these are the same steps, really. I'm taking this, I think the Coloplast opens a lot easier than Hollister. I know they have a newer version though, so Hollister may not be as difficult, but this opens so easy. So if you're struggling, this is a great one. But really we're gonna use our little pastry technique. Guys, they're my neighbors, oh my word. We'll pause before I empty my pink poop frosting into a bowl. Okay, I think we're safe. So we're gonna take our little pastry technique, using one hand to bring all of this down and the other hand to slide and open, or you can use 2 hands at the top here if you have a little thicker output like my frosting here. Typically I don't feel like I need 2 hands with my ileostomy, but here it comes. It's really pretty. Okay, we're gonna pushing it all to the bottom like that, taking my thumb to do the slide across, like so. And again, usually I don't have an issue with anything staying up here because things are more liquidy, but this is probably the most difficult consistency to empty. So it's good that this is what we're practicing with. I'm gonna take my little toilet paper here, and I'm folding it over so I have some on the front, some on the back, pinching the toilet paper, sliding it across into the toilet. I'm then doing that technique to open it back up. I'm gonna take some toilet paper, gonna wrap this around a finger or 2, going in there, using pressure, going all the way around in that full circle. And I grab another piece. This frosting consistency is a little more stubborn, but still I've only used 3 pieces so far and we're looking pretty good. Honestly, not bad. I know though, some of you are gonna wanna be super, super clean, and I know on myself, I don't like anything hanging in that opening there. So again, we'll go in one more time. To the surgeons who make the jokes though, that you're gonna save so much money on toilet paper though, I mean, you're still using toilet paper. So that joke, I don't know how realistic it is. I probably use more toilet paper the amount of times I empty this throughout the day, and to keep things super clean, but maybe that's just me. Okay. So we are looking really clean. I don't know how well that's translating onto video, but there's no frosting up at this top now. You could go in again and do one more, but I promise you it's gonna be cleaner with actual poop, which maybe sounds a little contradicting myself, or maybe that sounds a little ironic, but cleaning. It looks really good. So then again, taking my hand, keeping things nice and flat, pushing all that air out. And then you don't want to forget this step. You want to take those little Velcro tabbies that are just meant for draining. That's just when you empty it. You want to take it apart, and then you're going to fold it towards you. So that is totally protected. There is no way you have any stool anywhere that you would be able to touch or smell. And then we're gonna roll it up, and you're gonna do 1, 2, and then either 3, or did you know Coloplast has one up here too? This is definitely more for short term. You're not gonna hold a lot of output there, but I feel like a lot of people don't know about that option, and it's kind of fun to be able to tuck this up into sport mode, especially for certain times that you don't want anything dangling in the way. Ta-da! Number 2 down. Let's go do number 3. This is a new one to me. I just started trying this out over the last couple of months because I wanted to be able to speak to all the 3 big brands when I talk to my patients and have real life experience with them. And I really, really like it. It is a 1-piece. It's supposed to come out in a 2-piece at some point. Right now it's only in a 1-piece. And when I first tried it on, I loved how comfortable it was. I loved the way the bag looked, but I was a little iffy about the drainage system because I've always used the other ones, and this is very different. But now that I've actually used it for a couple months, you can get this super clean too. So let's try it. Okay, again, we're gonna make sure there's nothing at the top here. Slide everything down, we're ready to empty. You're gonna undo the Velcro, roll this down. Oh, I forgot to prep my toilet. That's all right, we can do this with one hand because in real life, sometimes you forget and that's how you're doing it. Prep with our little nest. We're gonna get our 3 pieces ready to go. If you don't have these ready, it's not a huge deal. You can just rip them off of the toilet paper roll. But I think if you prep ahead, you're not so worried about only using one hand. All right, we're ready to go. We're gonna press all of this down with our hands. We're gonna let gravity help open the end there, or you can use your little slide method. And again, I'm taking my thumbs and we're pushing all of that out, going towards the edge, but not having to touch the output, like that. I'm gonna take my first strip, fold it on the front and the back, slide to the right. Yes, I just did a cha-cha slide reference. We're gonna take this, wrap it around a finger, put this in here, use pressure to go all the way around. When I first tried these Convatec bags, I didn't like how flimsy the top was because I felt like I couldn't get it really clean. As you can kind of see here from one wipe, that's what it's looking like. But I like the back and how sturdy that is. But I found with pressure, you really can get it clean. Just takes a little bit of practicing. So if your first few ones aren't perfect, the more you do it, it is gonna get easier. I'm wrapping a finger, going all the way around. I'm kind of using the pressure from my thumb since this is thin, flimsy, to make sure I can get pressure and get it all really clean. Kind of getting into those corners can really help, but that looks pretty good. You can see there's still some like way up here. I feel like it's a little deceiving on my camera, but the top part, see how clean that is? All right, so let's do one more for my friends that want it super, super clean, because I am one of them. So I'm gonna just go a little further, and this time to make sure we are spotless. Look how good that is. Okay, line it out, roll it up, and then I'm just pressing this little flap down, and it's all closed up. We did it. All right, I'm reusing a wafer on the Hollister because I want to show you the clip, because this is the most different out of the ones I've shown you, and this is what a lot of people start in. So say you're watching this pre-op and you saw all those really cool Velcro bottoms and you're like, I'm definitely gonna try one of those. You probably already know which one you wanna try first. And then you get this when you wake up on your belly and you're like, what? I'm gonna be honest. Out of the 14 years I've had one, I have never personally worn a clip because this looks a little complicated and a little unnecessary, and you might worry about losing it or it digging into your belly. Or, I mean, there's this section, which I'm gonna show you how to keep it as poop-free as possible. But if you're not cleaning it super thoroughly, all of this is hanging out in the air, and I think you'd be a little more prone to odor. That being said, I know a lot of people like these because they think this is more secure, and if that's you, that's fine. But let's talk about how to empty it so that it is super clean. I will say the Velcro ones have never let me down from the bottom. When they are Velcroed the right way, I've never had a leak from down here, so don't let that scare you. All right, I might regret putting this much in of this one. This is not my favorite to empty, as I've told you, but we're gonna learn how. I teach all my pre-op patients because this is what our hospital starts everyone in. I'm hoping someday we will get with the times and go to Velcro, but for now, we're gonna learn. This is gonna be wonderful in this nice clear bag. All right, I'm gonna clip this into my wafer here. And I will say the clear bag will be nice for demonstrating this because then you can really see what I'm doing. All right, we are prepped with our little nest in the toilet. We're gonna take our hands. I like to sometimes give support up here while I'm pushing this down. And again, different consistency is gonna be a little easier to go down. But if you have frosting consistency, you gotta work a little bit. Okay. Another little tip is if you feel like you are always struggling to get your frosting like poop to get to the bottom of your bag, you can use a lubricant, and there's all different kinds, and I will try to do a video on that at some point to show you how those work. But basically you put that in the bag and it will help make everything a little more slippery so that it will empty easier, and it's also going to keep it a little more clean at the bottom. So if this process is taking you a little while and you're not feeling like you can get it as clean as you'd like it to, especially in the beginning, I think with practice you could get there, but you could also use some lubricating drops to make it even cleaner. I think that's a great idea. Okay, we are ready to go. For the clip, you're gonna take this little tab here and you're gonna pull it towards you and up. You're gonna wanna hold on to this end because you don't want it to fall. You're going to put this clip somewhere safe so that it does not fall into the toilet or fall away from you and you can't reach it. So hold this safely. I'd probably, I don't know, maybe put it on top of the toilet paper holder if you're in public. All right, so here is the big trick. You want to cuff this like you would cuff a sleeve inside out, so that way there is no poop touching that part of the bag that's going to be hanging free later. Right? So good. All right, so then we're going to empty this. We're going to push all of this out. And you can see I'm just using my thumbs and then letting gravity do its thing. I'm pinching, trying to stay as far away with my fingers as I can. This part, you know, it's a little harder because this is all flimsy, but I'm still doing that same idea of pressing, giving pressure up to the edge there. I guess 2 thumbs is what I'm thinking works best for this type. Then I'm gonna take my piece, fold it on the back and the front, press to get that whole area clean. You can then open this up and we're gonna do the same thing. So same concept as the other ones when you get to this point. It's a little trickier because it is a little flimsier. You don't have that like stiffer edge piece. Another reason I don't think I would ever want to personally switch to this. But for my patients starting in this and for healthcare workers, I think this can be so helpful. So see, I've got a finger on the inside. I'm totally wrapped. You know, and if you are the nurse or the CNA, you're wearing gloves too, so you are extra protected. Do you see how clean I got that? I'm proud of that. I mean, that you've seen the frosting is harder to clean. All right, uncuff. Gonna put the inner part on the top. So I'm laying this up here so that there's a good tail sticking out. Gonna fold the tail up. Make sure it's nice and smoothed out so that this will all fit into place. Bringing this in kind of like a little pocket. Do you hear it click? You know it's good when it clicks. And that's all clean. I'm pretty proud of that one. Yes, there is a little residual in here. You're not gonna get this super clean. Some people will rinse it. It's really recommended not to rinse it because if you're getting water, especially up here, it could affect your seal over time. Another reason I don't love a clear bag is because there's always gonna be a little residual there. And I think the gray or the beige ones or the black ones now just look so much nicer and you're not focused on your output all the time. So there you have it. That is how you empty an ostomy bag. Oh, one more design. I'm not gonna play with this one with the frosting, but I did want to show you another option. If you have a lot of output, some people will just wear this even at night if you find you're having to get up a lot to empty during the night and you need sleep. This is another great option. If you have an ileostomy with really high watery output, these high output bags are great. I know Hollister makes some good ones too. This one's a Coloplast, and this is a tap drainage system. So the way this works is it's a plug. So you're just opening it, and you could just take some toilet paper and do it right there. But remember, when you're wearing this, it's probably because you have liquid output. So it's really gonna flow out pretty easily. And then you can just clean that and pop that back together. Like that. Thanks for hanging out with me and playing along and getting to clean 4 different systems and kind of show you how I would do it as somebody who has done this every day, multiple times a day for the last over 14 years, and also gets to do this on real life patients as an ostomy nurse. Let me know below if you have any questions, if there's any little tips that you have found to work for you to keep things super clean. And I'd love to hear if there's any ostomy related content you would like me to do next. I'm new to YouTube and I'm excited to make more content, and I want to hear what you guys want to learn about. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you soon.